Hey everyone, my name is Alec Larson. I own and operate Larson Enterprises, where I primarily sell OEM automotive parts on eBay. I've been a seller since 2016, and I have just under 7,000 listings currently in my store. We have 3 employees, and we operate out of a 3,500 square foot warehouse in Central Florida. So I was asked to do a presentation on some seller resources that I found to be valuable over my selling career, and I chose to talk primarily about the Seller Hub because I use the Seller Hub every day throughout my workflow to structure my day in an organized way. And there's 4 elements through the Seller Hub that I'm going to take you through and how I use those elements throughout my day. And then we'll talk about some other seller resources like attending eBay seller events like this one, and some other eBay social channels that you might not have been aware of. We'll touch on those as well. And then of course, I'll be in the Q&A after the presentation. I love having my brain picked about questions regarding the business, so don't be afraid to stand by afterwards and tune in for questions. I'll be in there right after the presentation. So what is Seller Hub? I like to think of Seller Hub as my central command center, the control center for my eBay operation. It's my dashboard when I come into the warehouse first thing in the morning. I use it as my central control center. The 4 main elements that I am going to talk to you about today are the task module, which is a module in the Seller Hub that orders a list of tasks based on priority. So you can tackle things like shipping first throughout the day and knock out certain tasks that are presented to you on a priority. They're shortcuts to different pages in the Seller Hub. You can view orders that are ready to be shipped, offers received. You can send offers. You can respond to messages and other urgent items that might be pressing for the day. We'll go over listing tools, bulk editing characteristics and capabilities in the Seller Hub, bulk editing drafts or ended listings. Also, the overview page is fully customizable, so anything you see behind me, you can structure that however you'd like, depending on your preference. The Seller Hub also it's free to use. There are some other benefits that get unlocked as you add a store subscription. But the Seller Hub also offers incredible support for accounting and bookkeeping. The reports, in-depth sales reports looking back up to 24 months. The ease of bookkeeping and for tax time saves me a great deal of time. Inventory sourcing, this is a big one for me, and we'll talk about the inventory sourcing in a slide further on here. The Terapeak analytical tool is something I use almost on a daily basis for minimizing risk when I'm sourcing inventory, or even editing my current inventory, the active items. I'm using the Terapeak analytical tool, and we'll talk about that moving forward. The most practical way to cover these 4 elements is just to run you through a normal day of mine at the warehouse. We'll take a Monday, and I'll just run you through how I'm using each of these elements of the Seller Hub. I just felt like it'd be a little bit more practical for putting into a presentation. Like most sellers, I'll start the day shipping. I come into the warehouse, and I'll sit on my desktop and pull up the task module. I'll look at my orders that need to be shipped within 24 hours. I'll go through and filter the ones that probably need to be shipped first. You can also add notes to these orders. So if you're someone like me that has an employee or 2 that's working on shipping, you can add notes to each individual order. Say if a customer changed their address, or if something needs to be shipped in a specific box. That feature is something I use all the time. It's great. Being able to respond to messages, and for me, the first part of the day, before I start shipping, I like to get in the habit of reading messages first. As we all know, There are customers that want to change their address or other pressing issues, so using the task module as a shortcut to those messages, starting the day is really easy when you're just going through those ordered tasks. You can sort by user messages or eBay messages. Sometimes if you have a listing that needs addressed from eBay, you can find that there. Another feature I like in the task module is I can respond to offers, and I can also send offers to potential buyers. Again, this is something I'm doing almost as soon as I walk into the warehouse for the day. Responding to return requests and other recommendations, you have a shortcut obviously to your open returns. You can seamlessly manage those return shipping labels and refunds. And then of course there's the final tab usually on there is the suggestions for improving listings and using item specifics. That's for me especially with parts, superseded numbers. Having those recommendations will give me something to do at the end of the day as well. This is what the tasks module will look like highlighted here on the screen. I put mine up in the left corner just because I'm starting the day with the task module. For me, it just takes a busy day and prevents it from being chaotic. By having that structured task list, I'm able to manage the store with one module. I have a structured view of the day. By prioritizing those tasks, usually my day gets less busy throughout as it goes on. After lunch, I've taken care of the most pressing tasks. And on that, after I've looked at the task module, now I need to go and pick my orders for the day. I use the mobile version of the Seller Hub frequently, not just for picking orders out of inventory, but for also listing, and we'll get to that in the next slide here. But for picking orders out. So after I've gone on the desktop and looked at my orders for the day, I'm pulling out my mobile phone, and I'm able to, right here on the left, if you can see the pull up the order shortcut, I'm able to click on buyer paid listings. I pull up all the orders, and each listing that I have, we take photos of the shelf number that's on the part itself, and then we also will put the shelf number in the description as well. So that way I know exactly where the item is, where to find it. And I'm walking through with my mobile phone through the warehouse with a shopping cart and just pulling those orders out. And just having that capability with the Seller Hub on the mobile app is powerful because it allows me to pull 40, 50 orders in under an hour. We'll take those orders, pull them into the shipping room, get things shipped, and then I'm ready to move on to my second part of the day, which is listing more items. For every item that goes out, I like to list another one. So if I'm shipping 40 orders that morning, I want to be able to list 40 more orders back in inventory. And part of the method that I use to do that is the Seller Hub's listing tools, the bulk listing tools, and more importantly, the drafting capabilities of Seller Hub. Listing and managing inventory it's much easier when you have those bulk capabilities. Creating single or multiple listings at once, or bulk editing your current active listings, changing shipping settings, creating draft listings. For me, that is something with the mobile app that we'll talk about here in a second. Viewing listing data in a more customized, organized column is also helpful. And then I will be the first to admit I don't have a hard copy of my inventory, but this is something I've been meaning to do, and that's you're able to download a detailed report of your active listings in an Excel spreadsheet. It's something that I need to work on as well, but that is a really cool feature that the Seller Hub offers. This is what your active listing screen will look like, the page. This is what I love about the Seller Hub listing tools, is the draft feature, the draft page. When I list a new item in the store, I'm using my mobile phone to take a picture of the item on my listing table, and I'm putting that item on a shelf. But on the mobile app of Seller Hub, I can click Save for Later. And when I click Save for Later, what I've done is I've taken the step out of uploading a picture to the desktop, to the listing, connecting the dots. With the mobile app, just taking the picture of the item and clicking Save for Later puts it into a draft format. And that way, later on, once I'm done taking pictures, I spend an hour taking pictures, I can then transition to the desktop version of Seller Hub here on the draft page, and I can edit in bulk pictures. I can edit in bulk the data fields that are similar, shipping settings, handling time, and then I can move on to editing individual listings. Once I get the default fields squared away, I can go to the listing interface. This is an example of a headrest, and if you notice the white background is cleaner than the ones to the right. And that's just a simple tool that allows you to remove the contrast, and I can do that in a matter of seconds. I can knock out item specifics, I can knock out titles, and I'll spend a good part of the afternoon working on listings entirely using Seller Hub, primarily starting on the mobile version of Seller Hub and then moving to the desktop. The capability of Seller Hub in this regard, I don't know how I would manage to do it as quickly as I do without that. So once I get the listing section part of my day finished, knocked out, I like to, for me it's addicting to go through the performance section and view sales reports. I probably do this more often at all parts of the day, and being able to see your month-over-month sales reports, your year-over-year sales reports, tends to motivate you to set goals. And for me, I'll jump in and out of that throughout the day. It's accounting made simple for it's a no-brainer when you're doing your accounting for eBay, your bookkeeping. Everything you need to know about your sales can be reviewed in that report section, up to 2 years. So going back that far is very powerful. The breakdown of those selling costs. When I first started out, I remember thinking, how am I going to remember what the return shipping costs were, the refunds and cancellations? But you can download those all into a CSV format using the reports section here. This is what it looks like in a CSV file. Very, very powerful. If you're a novice with Excel, decoding this is not difficult. It took me but a few minutes to be able to filter through different data points, compare them to my 1099, and have a very almost organized presentation for my accountant for tax time. I could not imagine doing the accounting and bookkeeping without that version of that feature in Seller Hub. The final element of Seller Hub I use on a day-to-day basis, which I think to me is the most important tool, is the analytical research tool for sourcing inventory, and that's Terapeak. Sourcing inventory is easier when you know what sells, and to me the Terapeak tool is like a crystal ball for when I'm appraising a manifest of inventory or I'm at an auction. I'm able to see, based off of taking a piece of data from a product, a part number, a UPC code, I'm able to put that part number, a UPC code in Terapeak, and then view the sales data. What is the average sold price, the quantities of that product that have sold, and the date that it sold, that it last sold, maybe their seasonal trends. Just this alone is almost like a cheat code for the business. It minimizes the risk for me almost to zero when I'm sourcing inventory. And for me, building the business, I couldn't have done it confidently without Terapeak. And if you're not already using Terapeak, I would recommend jumping into that feature. So that really sums up my day. It's jumping between those 4 elements: shipping, the task module. The Seller Hub is the glue that holds my workflow together of the day, and it's something that I don't know how it could be better for having an organized day. And as you scale, and as I'm growing, it's growing right along with me, can handle all of those challenges. So that's an overview, and of course, there's so much I haven't covered, and I would urge you to ask any sort of questions about any of the elements or stuff I've missed. I love talking about the Terapeak and Seller Hub. We'll transition to talking a little bit about other seller resources that you might not have been aware of, and for me is attending eBay seller events. When I started my business, it was because of a friend, Jack Mears, that he was selling aircraft parts on eBay. So I started my business from another eBay seller. Just one other seller taught me so much about getting started. And just by growing your business, meeting other sellers is such an underrated opportunity. From one seller, I learned so much. But then when I attended these events, you tend to find it, even as an introvert, inspiring to ask questions with other sellers. You're networking. You're finding parallels between your business and their business. You're getting inspired with new tips. You're having aha moments every other couple minutes. Being able to be here in person and ask those questions, seeing and viewing presentations like this one, one tip could be something that changes your business from scaling at a slower rate to a faster rate. Sharing your own personal stories. If you're a larger seller, the fulfillment that you can get from that is underrated as well. I can't say enough about what I've learned from larger sellers, the inspiration. Staying in touch with eBay at seller events, you realize how much more personal such a large company can be by talking to the team here at the event in person, asking questions to common issues, news that's in the works, updates, developments. You can even give suggestions in person. It could be your opportunity. I can't say more enough about attending events like these. Just from, like I said, even me as an introvert, it's very easy to just open up and start talking to every other seller. You will be inspired. I can guarantee that. We'll talk about other eBay social channels that you might not be aware of. The eBay Community Forum. This is where I have personally found answers to common questions. You'll find that if you search in Google a question about selling, it's likely that the eBay Community Forum is the first result to come up, contributing to that. A great way to troubleshoot common issues. The eBay Seller Spotlight podcast. You can listen to real seller stories on a long-form format. So a whole interview of someone's story where you could find inspiration, find parallels to your journey. It's awesome for car rides, especially with the popularity of podcasts now. I can sit there and on a long drive when I'm picking up inventory, listen to a seller story and go, I remember something similar to that happening to me. It's a great social channel for if you're a seller. The eBay for Business YouTube channel. This is a channel full of countless videos of different segments. You could find my favorite segment is a seller sharing what their favorite tool is that they find most helpful in a 1.5-minute long clip. So if you're sitting there eating lunch, if you're on lunch break and you click on a 1.5-minute video, it's something that you could find a tip that could, again, change your whole workflow just from that. Seller spotlight videos, informative updates. It's just really cool to tune into those updates on the eBay YouTube channel. And with that, closing thoughts, joining the community. By being part of events like these, especially for me, it takes the loneliness out of operating a sole eBay store. While that is sort of the norm with running a business, it's for an introvert myself, it's even a great prospect. But by being in the company of an influence of other sellers, attending those events, it's a no-brainer, even if you're not as social. Some takeaways as well of this, the Seller Hub, just being the easiest way to customize and centralize your operation and maintain and organize e-commerce workflow. I can't say enough about it. By networking with other sellers, like I mentioned, by being part of these events, You can learn simply by bouncing your ideas around, comparing methods, and asking questions. So no matter your store size, there's a place for you. Learn from super sellers or give back by sharing tips with sellers even just starting. So with that all said, I just want to thank you guys for tuning into all that. I, again, am an open book. If you have any questions at all, I love having my brain picked. Anything business related with eBay. So thanks again. I look forward to meeting you guys, and I'll see you next time.